Okay, welcome everyone. I think we're ready to start. Thank you for coming. Thank you to the county for providing lunch.
Welcome.
And I think everyone knows Keith Miller, Chief Tax Assessor for Buncombe County Tax Office, here to talk about the upcoming reappraisal, but also going to talk about an initiative that we're collaborating with the county tax office on, a tax appeal clinic where we kind of just answer very basic questions about the appeal process via a hotline. More information about that to come in the coming weeks. And then I think Keith's also going to talk about some other miscellaneous topics of interest, like the discovery of taxes and a current owner maybe getting stuck with a back tax bill when the previous owner made the improvements. Mm-hmm. So looking forward to hearing from Keith. Always grateful you're welcome to come to speak with us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I do see some new faces. Some of you haven't been here before when I was here on the speak, right? Some of you are new to this. Great. I will go through this pretty quick because I'm always more interested in hearing your questions and being able to respond and answer your questions than just me talk the whole time. So I am Keith Miller. I'm the county property assessor. I've been for quite a few years, been with the county for 28 years in tax. So I've done for my career at the county. So I've been around probably longer than I should have. So put it in perspective a little bit. At first, some of you saw this before, but most people kind of enjoy this little fun thing that we do. So just to help you better understand who we are and some of the challenges that we have, I do this little thing. Day in the life of a county treasurer, and you do the job. Here's a house in North Asheville, sold a couple of years ago. What happens when we go to this property is that our appraiser drives up, they see what you see, we walk around the outside, and then guess what? We're expected to know the value. Okay? That is true. 99.9% of the houses in this county, we will never go inside of. I have no idea what the inside of your house looks like, and probably never will, unless you appeal it and share something with us that you want us to see. So the difference here is that when you see a property that's coming on the market, or you're putting a property on the market, and you look at the tax value and you say, where'd that come from? How'd they miss that? There's a lot of things that we have missed because we don't have all the information that you have as maybe the realtor. Because the situation is literally what you see here. We can see the exterior, the siding, the roof, the decks, the porches, but we'll never see the inside. Same thing here. Doesn't matter what the house is, where it's located. We do them all. Doesn't matter the size, quality. Doesn't matter if it's a small bungalow or a 15,000 square foot luxury home. We do them all. So this one is the same thing. Our appraisers go to this property, they walk around the outside, they take as much information as they can get, and we do the best job that we can to put a fair value on it. Well, most people, even in your industry, sometimes, again, don't understand is that we never knew this house had a $750,000 kitchen in it. Okay? We don't know that. And you didn't know it until you went inside or talked to the owner. So my point in that, it's easy for us in the mass appraisal world to miss things like that. We don't always know everything that we should know. It's really up to the property owners to let us know that. Same thing here. If you dabble any commercial, okay, this is a girl park team that you probably recognize. So let me ask you, if the owner of the girl park team comes to you and says, I want to know what the value is of my property, and what's your question going to be? Well, if you work in commercial, you know it's all about income. So you're going to ask for those financials, right? When the owner says, no, not giving it to you, but I expect you to get the value right. Okay? That's the other issues that we deal with, is that we have to put a value on this the same as we ever do every other hotel and motel in town. But when the owner doesn't share anything with us, then we have to rely on market data that we know about room rates, occupancy, and so on. to arrive at what we think an estimated value would be. But again, we are expected to have perfection in what we do, which in mass appraisal, perfection is not always available, just because we have a limited amount of information that we have, and mass appraisal is on groups of properties rather than single property appraisals, which we'll talk about in a minute. So what else do we do? A lot of people miss this. As assessors in the property assessment office, we assess all personal property. We manage land records. Personal property would include licensed motor vehicles, business personal property, and real estate. We administer all the special programs in the state of North Carolina, and we reappraise approximately 130,000 parcels that we're responsible for. A lot of people, when they talk about assessment, they think it's just real estate, but it's not. When you went to renew your tag for your vehicle and you saw that value on there, well, we did that too. Okay. If you have a business and you listed your business assets, we do that too. So it's not just about real estate. We do a lot of other things. The statute says we're responsible for all real and personal tangible property. So it includes a lot of different things. A little bit of facts for you. Again, 130,000 parcels of real estate, 8,900 business accounts, 12,000 personal property, 227,000 motor vehicles. We put a value on each one. But remember this number as we move forward. We'll talk about it again. Total taxable value for the county for FY24 was $51 billion. So $51 billion times the tax rate is what creates the revenue. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Why are we doing a reappraisal? One, the statute says we have to do it. The state of North Carolina says the assessors must do it at least once every 8 years, but the county commissioners have the ability to move that forward to be a shorter term if that's what they need to do. We have been on a 4-year term for many, many years, just because of the rate of appreciation in the county in order to be able to keep up. There's a few other triggers in the statute, and I won't get into it any more depth as far as the technical pieces of it. But recently, well, not recently, over the past few years, there were some triggers added to the statute that says if your sales ratio drops below X, then you will have to conduct a reappraisal, regardless if I want to or the commissioner wants to. We have to do it. But the big thing, I always tell people, reappraisal is about equity. Okay? Most people, when we talk about reappraisal, you say, oh God, we're going to do that again. And people say, we just want to go up on my taxes. We just want more revenue. But really, I truly believe that when the statutes were written, is that reappraisal is about equity. It's not about producing revenue. Because the commissioners have the ability every year to adjust the tax rate. So if they want more revenue, they can get that in any year. They don't have to wait for a reappraisal. Okay? So what do I mean by equity? The county over time, as you know, different areas of the real estate market will appreciate at different levels. So if you're appreciating at 20%, your neighbor only appreciating at 5%, then one of you are paying more and one's paying less in taxes on your actual real estate value. But after reappraisal, it should bring those back in line. Where everybody is paying their fair share, and there's no certain groups of people or locations within the county that's carrying more of the tax burden than others. And so that's really what reappraisal is about. How do we do it? Mass appraisal, groups of properties, versus what you see in the world you work in. You have an appraiser, comes out, they give you an appraisal on a single parcel. They look at 3 or 4 comps, they give you a value for that one house. We look at them as groups of properties. We currently have about 2,400 neighborhoods across the county. When I say a neighborhood, that's a delineated area of homogeneous properties in which we will value as a group. Okay? We don't value them single, one-on-one. There's no way that we have the ability really to do that. Mass appraisal, however, does consider the same approaches as you do or any appraiser does in this market. Those comparison, cost, and income, they're all still considered. Doesn't matter if you do mass appraisal or if you're doing single property appraisal. We all work in the same methodology. So why don't we do single property appraisals? 130,000 parcels. We had to do that over 12 months. We estimate it would take 270 appraisers to do that. To do a single property appraisal on every house in the county. It's logistically and financially not feasible for us to be able to do that. So that's why all counties across the United States uses mass appraisal. So they can do a job that is that huge and not need 270 people to complete that. So beyond those things of why we do a reappraisal and what a reappraisal is about is what's next. If you're a property owner, 2025, you're a property owner in Buncombe County, 2025, you will be affected in one way or the other. It doesn't matter if it goes up, goes down, or it don't change. We will send you a notice and tell you what we now have estimated your value to be. So it will affect you. But our goal in the next few months leading up to 2025 is to do what we're doing today. And that is to be out in the community, engage with citizens, our residents, help them be more educated about reappraisal, what they can expect. When you get that notice from me, what can you do if you don't agree? These are things that we want to be out in the community talking about and help you better understand that. The other thing that we're doing, you may have received one of these blue postcards from us. We mailed about 80,000 of these to all the property owners in the county, looking for data updates. So reappraisal, better data we have, better reappraisals that we can do. If we know what you have on your house, as far as square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, etc., then we can put a better value on it. So we're working on data quality. The other piece of data quality is just our contractor just flew the county, 660 square miles of collecting oblique photography. Oblique photography is what you see on the right-hand side. 45-degree shot of the house, so our appraisers can sit in the office and we can see the front of your house, the back, the sides. They can do some inspections on, quality and condition of the house. You can also get a bird's eye view, which then also gives us a footprint. Why the footprint? Look at the house in the far right. Has one 2-car garage. The house in the middle, same house. Somewhere along the way, the owners added another 2-car garage. But we didn't know about that. Okay? And we'll talk more about this in a minute. But this is data quality. This is how we use aerial photography to help us improve data quality. We overlay the footprint then on that house electronically, and it tells us we're missing something. So the feedback that we would get back from this is that the footprint that we have in the red in our system does not match the house. So that flags it for us and says, you need to do something. You need to figure out why, so it doesn't match. The other thing that we're doing, or just did, and just wrapping up, reduced street level photography, sort of like Google, but this is much different than Google because it's such a higher quality. We can zoom in on the house again, do roof inspections, siding inspections, we can see a lot of things that you can't see on Google. So this company just drove 1,878 miles to the county collecting street level photography. This product also gives us the ability to measure a house. So with data they collect, I can measure the house electronically. I can even, if I'm downtown, if I want to know how tall the Harris building is at, I can look straight up on the Harris building and I can measure it from one top to the bottom with this photography and this data collection. So it helps us do a better job internally, that we're not on the road all the time trying to collect data. New thing, automated valuation modeling is the first reappraisal that we will use this. This is an AI product. Here's what happens. Every night, this system revalues about 90,000 parcels. Every day, we can see a new value on all 90,000 parcels. The system will use all the sales transactions from the day before, plugs it in with all the historical data that we have from sales transactions, and recalculates what a potential value for your house would be every night. So we will use this tool as an auditing tool mostly, but you can see the feedback here that it gives us is that This house was assessed in 21 for 426, sold in 21 for 470. The automated valuation model says in 2023, the value was 612, and it predicts a value then for 2025 of 656,000. So that's the feedback that we get every day. It does predictions on areas of appreciation, where that's at, things that we should be aware of. So we get a lot of things that back from the data that helps us hopefully do a better job. Community and market area delineation. This was the 2,400 neighborhoods that I mentioned earlier. We have contracted with a company. We redid these. So these will all be new for 2025. And it's doing nothing but creating market areas. And that's what this map here shows you. A market area is what's identified. Biltmore Forest is a market area. Okay? We don't compare Biltmore Forest to anything else other than Biltmore Forest. It's its own market area. Okay? Shiloh, same thing. Oakley, same thing.
Did you recently go through and adjust some of the lines for these market areas?
Everyone. Okay? And that will be, we will produce that new for 2025, with the market areas all be new and redefined based upon changes that's happened over time. Technology changes, property owner toolkit. If you go to our website now, you can copy your name, pull up your parcel, you see a picture, you'll see some basic data about your house, you'll see a map. But a couple new things, community, you'll see in the ribbon. Community, if you zoom in on the area that you live, it will start giving you some statistics. Market sales prices, change, building permits, this type of things that you can just focus on your area to see what's going on. The other one is Comper, see on the ribbon? You go to Comper, Comper will plug your home in and you can select 3 comps for your home, and it will give you an estimated value immediately based upon that. Tools that our property owners can use to better educate them, help them better understand what their property is worth. If they get that notice and they say, there's no way this house is worth $500,000. Well, they can go here and quickly see what we used to arrive at a value of $500,000. Okay? So if they think it's not right, then that's information that they can use to go through the appeal process. The new app, you can get all that technology on your smart devices. Hopefully you got one of these. You can download this to your phone, My Value VC. And for you, even if you're sitting there with a client at their home, you open up My Value VC and just type in the address, you'll be able to see the picture, how many square feet do we have, how many bedrooms, bathrooms. You'll be able to see all the information really quick and easy right on your electronic device. Appeals. So we're going to focus on this for just a minute. What is appeals? Every property owner by statute has the right to appeal your property back. Okay? That is your due process given to you by the state of North Carolina. It says Keith doesn't have the ability to just put a value on your house and say this is what it is, and you have no recourse to come back and challenge it. Okay? That's the appeal process. If you feel something is wrong, or we didn't get it right, even if we got it too low, you can still appeal it and tell us. But most people don't. So if we get it too high, you can let us know. Check the data on your house, see if it's correct. But the appeal process starts with what we call the informal process. I'm in 2025, and actually every year in January, anybody can appeal the property value. Once we get this far out from a reappraisal, we don't get too many appeals. So come 2025, we may get 10, 15,000 after we send 130,000 notices. But again, that's your right to do that. And that's every property owner's right to question that value and say, where'd it come from? Maybe it's wrong. Maybe you need to see the inside of my house. Maybe there's something you didn't know. Maybe you didn't know I had a hole in the roof. Maybe you didn't know that I didn't have any floors in the house. You know, there's a lot of different things that could be there that I don't know about. So the appeal process should be used for that, to let us know what's going on. So the informal process starts in January. The statute says the assessor has the ability to review any information that you submit to me for change under the appeal process until the Board of Equalization and Review convenes. The Board of Equalization and Review is a local board appointed by the county commissioners to hear property tax appeals or any other things related to tax that you want to appeal. So it's a local board of 5 members who are volunteers, and they sit. If we don't agree on your appeal, this is where you go to next in the formal process. That board will hear your appeal. They will make a decision for you on what they think your value should be based upon the information you provide to them. Again, due process, and don't stop there either. If you don't agree with whatever that Board of Equalization Review says your value should be, then you can go to the Property Tax Commission in Raleigh. There is a board appointed by the governor. They will hear your appeal, and they will also render a decision. If you don't like that, you can go to the Court of Appeals. So there's steps to the process. I always want to make people, here's what I want you to hear from them, is that there's nobody just handing you down a bag and saying, you got to pay tax on this, whether you like it or whether you don't, whether it's right or whether it's wrong. Okay? That's not how it works. A lot of people, I think, believe that, but that's just not how it works. You have the right to the statute of due process to be able to appeal your value and make sure that it is correct and you are paying on a fair value. So we last year, in conjunction with Mossar, held appeal clinics for residents. Residents could come out and meet. We have some volunteer realtors. They could come out and meet and be able to speak with you face to face as a volunteer, not someone to arrive at a value, but as a volunteer to say, did you look at this, or did you consider this, or what about the square footage, or what about the condition, or look at these comps down the street. Give you guidance about how to help arrive at a fair value, and maybe better understand the process. Because you as realtors, you have all the information. So volunteers stepping up, they would sit with people and go through it. Some people would walk away and say, I'm good, makes sense to me now. Some people would say, I want to appeal based upon the information which was provided to me. So then later we did a hotline here at Buncombe. There was a number you could call in and leave your information, and a volunteer would call the person back and help them answer with their questions without no problem. You're the experts, so we were looking for volunteers who could step up and do that. We're going to hopefully do that again this year. We'll have the hotline here at Mossar. Any property owner can call in. They'll leave a message, and Matt and his team, then we'll put those out where the volunteers can call back that property owner and help them. Again, not asking you to be an appraiser, not asking you to give them a definitive value on what you think. It's more you're offering your service as an expert to help them walk through the process and help them understand, where do I get a comparable? I don't know how to do that. Well, where might you look? Or what does it mean when we talk about square footage? Or what does it mean when we talk about finished basement? You know, these are things that a lot of your residents in the county do not understand. So we wanted you as experts to step up and do that. The other reason that we did that was what we find is that there's much distrust for government in a lot of communities. I don't know why. Okay, most of us are good people. But there's a fear factor, I think. People don't want to come to see us. People don't want to come and sit down in front of us. A lot of people think it's a controversial situation where they're just going to have to come in and they're going to have to argue, and it's just going to be a bad scene. And that's not how it goes down. Okay? But because of that, we wanted our residents to feel comfortable that, number one, they can come, they can appeal and have somebody to talk to about it. That's a professional, but not me, okay? They didn't have to come to me. They could come to you and ask you to help them through the process.
Can I just add to that? I really appreciate you playing up the fact that you don't need to overspeak. Like, again, we have a script. You're not going to go beyond what you're allowed to do as a real estate licensee. It's fine. The other great thing about doing the hotline approach is the way we're setting it up, and I'll be sending out information about this to everybody, is you'll be assigned a given week and you'll call into the hotline via the day to see any messages. That will allow you time to prepare if it is appropriate for you to answer, and if it's not, you can forward it back to Keith's office or to physical legal if it's a legal question. So again, the stakes are pretty low, and we view this as a great way to collaborate with the tax office and help the community.
The other thing I'll point out to you, and thank you, Matt. If you decide you want to volunteer, and maybe there's some parts of it you don't feel comfortable with, I'm always happy to come back here. You're always welcome to come to my office. We'll talk through it. I'll help you better understand the process and what it's like to be able to help the resident through that. But I also do not have any problem is that when you're helping the resident, you need to identify who you are, okay? You need to identify the company you work for. And you need to use it also maybe as a source of a contact for future, okay? Now, as I say that, I'm not telling you to use it as a solicitation, okay? But there's nothing wrong with you saying, hey, I work for Great Gift Realty, this is my name, you know, I hope to help you today. If I don't, you need something in the future, then give me a call. I'll be happy to answer your questions for you, okay? So it's also, I've always said it's a good way for you to make contacts and put your name out there, okay? So we're looking for volunteers, you're looking for prospects. Let's put it all together and make everybody happy, okay? So maybe that's the way to work out for it. So again, Matt said, you'll send out some more information about the hotline. If you want to volunteer, then you can let Matt know that. He'll put you on the rotation. And again, please, if you've got some questions, once you sign up for that, let me know what those are, because I want you to be comfortable with it. I don't want you to do something that you feel like you're putting yourself out there and doing something you shouldn't. As I said, no resident should expect you to be an appraiser or give them a final value estimate. You're there to give them guidance.
And just to give, I just want to give a shout out. Karen very kindly, I know, participated. I don't know if she's willing to.
Yeah. I mean, it was great. One, I got to meet all the people in your office, which they were all lovely. But people just have questions. They're not really looking at you to give them, as you say, a value. You're just a trusted advisor, and you kind of build this little mini relationship. When I did it, we had the county had the sales tax on rentals that had just been mailed. So at that time, I think we had more questions about personal property on rentals than we did on this, but it was nice. I mean, we did it in an Ingles cafeteria or cafe or whatever they call it, and a lot of people did stop. And it was a nice way to connect. I mean, I think we all believe in our community, and that's kind of what it felt like to me, was just being a part of the community.
It is, and it's a good way, to, first of all, to give back. We're there also as county employees on Saturdays, doing the same thing. I don't get paid for that. You know, I'm volunteering to a certain extent too. But we are trying to build relationships, and we're trying to build trust in our community to know that the assessor's office and tax is really here to work together. And let's all collaborate to make things right, rather than have the distrust that someone has to talk to. So,
and I actually did this for myself. We bought a neighboring lot, and we put a covenant on it when we purchased it, saying it was non-buildable. So I went through the appeal process, and my taxes were lower because, as we know, that non-buildable land isn't worth as much.
Sure.
So the website's grown a lot since I did my little parcel, and it's really user-friendly. I think just showing people how to use it, it's kind of like that commercial, and they tell someone, and so on and so on. I think as we start to educate people on using a website like this, it becomes less scary.
we hope so. And that's the goal. Let's be transparent. take the fear out of it, give people tools that they can use in their hands, that they don't have to call me and ask me. They can do some of the work on their own and feel more comfortable with it.
And not always that your tax will go up. I noticed on my property card, it just said heat with no AC.
Mhm.
So I did that one little update. It didn't change my tax at all.
Mhm.
But it's just kind of a refresher on make sure you're up to date. So, you know, in my opinion, you get some surprise bill or something for an update or something.
Yeah, and we'll talk about surprise deals in a minute, which I know y'all paying here for. So, but we did, yeah, it was some enjoyable events. We did about 4 different angles because we are of the belief that we go to the public rather than trying to get the public to come to us. We were trying to put ourselves out there. So we did that. We were at some of the libraries for planned events that people could come and sit down. So these I think went well. I think they're going to be very important in 25 as we get more appeals, more people is going to want to ask questions. Then we will probably get back to the face-to-face events rather than just doing so. I hope you'll consider volunteering and experiencing that with our residents of Buncombe County. So the myth that I always like to point out to people, which is highlighted, is that you come the latter part of 25 into January, the latter part of 24 into January 25. You know the media, and they're going to come to me, they're going to say, what's the increase? What's the median increase across the county? And I'm going to give them a number, and they're going to put it out, okay? But here's what I want to point out to you, and you can talk to your clients about, is that if I say the value's going up 20%, that's a median value across the county, and also does not mean your taxes are going to go up 20%, okay? Most people believe that, and most people immediately will say, oh my God, my tax bill is going to go up 20%. No, your value went up 20% as a median value across the county. But keep in mind, every reappraisal I've ever done for the county, the commissioners adjusted the rate. So as the $51 billion change, as it goes up, let's say it went to $100 billion on the 51. Well, we just doubled what the revenue would be if the rate stayed where it's at today, okay? But the county, they might want it, but they don't need that much, okay? If they've got a $400 million budget for this year, then they probably need a $400 billion budget for next year, okay? So they're gonna adjust the rate to get the same amount of revenue with that new valuation that we did as the old. So some people's bills will go up, some will come down, some will change very little. Okay, so as your clients talk to you about that, just remember that. Just because value's going up doesn't mean taxes going up. You also have the ability, every property owner has the ability to know what a revenue neutral rate is. What I mean by that is that as the value goes up and we publish it, county administration has to publish what a revenue neutral rate is. And a revenue neutral rate means this is the rate it takes to get the same amount of revenue that we got the year prior to the reappraisal. Okay? So it's knowledge. You know, and if you don't see that and you want it, then I'd say go seek it and know what that is.
The other thing I just wanted to point out, the county, I believe, still has a fund available for people who meet certain parameters if their tax bill does go up quite a bit to defray the cost of that.
Yeah, so there is the homeowner grant program, which people can qualify for. If you qualify for it, then you can get $300 from the county. You can also get some from the city to help you offset expenses for your property. Now, understand, that is not a tax program, okay? Matt kind of touched on that, but let me clarify that. That is not a tax program. That is not money that we're giving away or the county's giving away in a grant to say, hey, here's money to go pay your taxes. Because number one, that would be illegal, okay? We can't do that. We can give grants to people who meet certain criteria and say the grant has to be used for your home. You can pay insurance, you can pay taxes, you can pay a mortgage payment. You can pay any of these things that you have a need for, okay? But it's not, it should not be classified as a tax program. All right. The equation, we just talked about this. Most people, most residents and property owners in this county do not know this equation, okay? and you've probably experienced it. The assessed value, that's what I use. And that's the only thing I do. The rate, which we just talked about, that is set by the county, municipalities, fire districts. They are the ones that determine the rate based on how much revenue they need after I tell them the back. Okay? So for those people that come to me and say, Keith, why'd you go up on my taxes? Well, I didn't really go up on them, okay? Because I don't set the rate. I don't determine how much the county needs in revenue. I don't work in budget and finance. That's somebody else's job. My job is to estimate value. So the governing boards are the ones that determine what your tax bill will be. I tell people as I go around the community and the county, I've said it many times, is that pay attention. Come June of every year, and all of these governing boards are setting the rates. That's when you need to pay attention to what the rate is, okay? But you can get surprised. You can get if you live in a district that's unincorporated, you have a fire district, and the fire district doubles, you're really paying attention, then you're gonna get a tax increase when you get that deal. And then you're gonna say, well, what happened? So I tell people to pay attention in June. That's when the rates will be set. And that's when you should, have some knowledge of, what's going on. Reappraisal schedule is what you can expect over this year. We are working on the values now. The effective date will be January 1 of 25. We will mail you and all residents notices around the last of January, 1st of February. And then property owners can appeal. Once you get that notice, or come January, you can start the appeal process. April, Board of Equalization Review will convene and adjourn. June 30th, the tax rate will be set. But whenever I give an estimated value to the county budget, what I think the total assessed value will be, then they will set the rate. And in August, the collector will know will be based upon that new value and whatever the new tax rate may be.
Some door-to-door visits. Is there any way that you determine those?
We will review approximately 20,000 parcels a year. Okay? Maybe 5,000 to 10,000 of those we will actually put our feet in the dirt. Okay? And those are random. It could be permanent parcels. It could be parcels that are transferred. There's different reasons which they would get flagged for us to look at. If we haven't been there in a lot of years, and that would get flagged for us to go look at. But now, rather than do so many door-to-door visits, technology has really given us the ability to do a lot of desktop work. So we can do a lot of inspections at the desktop rather than having somebody on the road. We can do more work with the technology today than we ever could with somebody on the drive. Discovery and taxation of unreported improvements. So, you guys have probably heard this, heard the talk, I'm sure from some of your colleagues. But let's say I have a property and I added 1,000 square foot addition to that house. I might have got a permit for it, I might not have got a permit for it, but I had it. State of North Carolina says it is your responsibility as a property owner to notify the assessor that you made that change. Okay? It's not my responsibility to know it. It's your responsibility to tell me. Now we do get building permits for all the permitting offices to try and stay ahead of that. So when you don't tell us that we do know it's there, and we're not creating inequities by not this. Well, what happens when you don't tell us and we don't know it? And then all of a sudden we find it for whatever reason. Let's say you added that 5 years ago and you never have paid taxes on it for 5 years. It's never been on your property record card. Now we find it. Statute says the assessor shall discover that property for back taxes that were not paid. Okay? So, two ways. Statute says it defines it as discovery, which says we can go back 5 plus the current year, which is 6 total years of back taxes that need to be paid, plus up to as much as 60% of penalty. Okay? So again, when we wrote the statute, not we, when whomever wrote the statute, they knew this is a self-reporting system. So to have a self-reporting system, you have to have penalties for people who don't comply to a self-reporting system. Well, the penalties are in the statute to say, you as the property owner have a job here to do, and if you don't do it, then you're going to get penalized for it. Okay? The second reasonable way of doing we do it is called immaterial regularity. And immaterial regularity is this, is that, let's say you reported it to us, and we still didn't add the back. Then we would do that under immaterial regularity. The difference is that under immaterial regularity, we can go back as much as 10 years to discover the value of escape taxation, but there's no penalty. Okay? Because we recognize under this statute of immaterial regularity that you attempted to tell us and we failed to do it. Doesn't mean you don't have to pay your taxes, but it does mean you won't be charged a penalty. Okay? Now, why is this in? I'll give you the statutes. If you want to look them up and read more about it, you can. 105.312 is the discovery statute. Look it up. It could be quite lengthy, but it'll tell you how the penalties apply, why it is, and so on. But why do we talk about this here with you guys and stuff? You can get yourself in a bad situation. Simple as that. Okay. And here, let's play a scenario. You come to my house and list my house for sale. And I tell you, I added that 1,000 square feet, and I never got a permit for it. And you look and see that the assessor has never assessed it, that extra 1,000 square feet. What are you going to do? So, if the property owner doesn't report it, and you sell the property, and the new owner takes possession, we catch that transfer through the web in some way, and we see there's an additional 1,000 square feet, we're going to discover. That will be discovered to the property, and the new property owner is going to get the fee for those 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. When that new property owner gets that bill for $10,000 for the years that they didn't own it, the back taxes, you think they're going to be happy with you? No. Somebody they're going to be looking to pay. That's why I'm here for. So, protect yourself against that would be my recommendation to you. Now, I'm not going to give you legal advice. If you want to talk about the ramifications of some of that, we need to talk to Matt.
I can give you legal advice either, but I think this came up a few months ago when Philip Price was here. Mm-hmm. Some success stories, mm-hmm. Meaning agents recognized it, came to you, you were able to address it prior to closing, everyone was happy, buyer's agent's not going to get screwed several months down the road.
We've had many success stories. Okay, but the success story comes from you starting. Okay, when you saw that, you said, property owner, you need to do something. We need to report this. We need to make it right before we put the house on the market, or at least before the transaction happens to the buyer. And that's what has happened. The realtor called me and said, listen, I'm getting ready to list this house. It's got a full finished basement, but you've never had it. They've never told you that. So the owner and I would like to get that fixed before we put the house on the market. We immediately fix that, send the new owner a value, send the new owner the tax bill that they owe for the prior years. Now it attaches to the property as a lien before the closing. Okay? So it has to be paid. Your new buyer then don't get stuck with the tax bill. They know that they probably shouldn't pay. So it's important that I suggest it's important that when you list a property, go to our website and confirm the data that we have on it is correct. If something hasn't been added that we don't know. Basements is the one of the biggest, okay? Because we have no way of seeing that. You probably know a lot of property owners, they finish their basements and don't tell anybody.
So Matt, you can't give them legal advice, but you might give them some code of ethics advice.
Well, yeah, of course I can say you have to disclose this material fact. that what you mean?
If seller doesn't like what they heard from that agent, they just move on to another agent, find someone who doesn't care. But then they're misrepresenting something in a big way. But, I mean, like I see this all the time where material facts just die with the agent that didn't get the listing because they were on the up and up.
Well, even if the listing agent doesn't do it, a buyer's agent could put tax square foot, the square foot that's represented by tax record versus the how it's represented in the MLS. And if there's a discrepancy, that's obviously a red flag that we need to do something. Now, maybe there isn't a difference. Catch it.
Would a real estate attorney catch that? Also?
Well, we're trying to, that's the other part of this campaign, right? Trying to let the close
So we've done some, lunch and learn for bar association and for paralegals, trying to help them better understand this process so we all can work together to get ahead of it. There is nothing worse than me getting a phone call from a new owner and saying, Pete, why did you send me the $6,000 tax bill? Let's move into the house. Okay, why am I having to pay for somebody else's mistakes?
$60,000 tax bill.
6,000.
But,
Well, I mean, it could be.
yeah, I mean, we're talking about,
Could be, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, so it can get pretty serious, but here's what I want you to remember too, is that when you see that, we will help you with it. All you gotta do is make that call to us. Now, if the property owner says, don't report it, you got a decision. You can counsel Matt over that.
Now, what if they finished, a 2,000 square foot unfinished space
Same.
5 years ago? And now you say, hey, I finished this. Is there amnesty or are they gonna get hit for a 5-year penalty?
No, statute gives no amnesty. Okay, they're gonna get hit for whatever years that it's been there with penalty if they never got a permit. Okay, so it's important, again, even if you're at the house, that's why I say they created this app. Here's a house sitting there with a potential listing. Look it up and say, well, the county has you at 1,000 square feet, but we just measured, or you just told me you got 2,000 square feet. You know why it's different? I think you start doing some investigation now. And again, I'm not asking you to go out there and do my job for me, but I'm telling you is that if we find this is what's going to happen. And I'm trying to help you understand that you don't want to get yourself in this situation. Okay.
How, I know this varies greatly by county, but strength of record keeping in various permitting offices, something that may have been done 20 years ago, that's not reflected on the tax bill. Same owner the whole time, there's not been any change of ownership. Owners may have thought something was done with the permit, but they can't find it anywhere. Is there any sort of situations like that?
I would say so. Those happen, but we come back then to the statute again. And I don't want you to think Keith uses the statute always as an out. That's not it. But I did take an oath to uphold the laws of the state. So even if it was 20 years ago, and they said, well, we did get a permit. We're not going to time probably 20-year permit now, right? But what they would still have that 5 years ago on that, because the point there and the important part is that that property owner still has the responsibility to make sure the property is correct. Okay? Every property owner does. So if you've never been, if you own in Buncombe County, you've never been on our website and looked up your property, make sure it says correct, and I encourage you to do that. If you see something that's wrong, it's as simple on our website. It's like, hit a button, update my data, tell us what to do, send it to us, and we'll update it. Okay? It's easy to do.
I think another fear for those, like if you're trying to advise that they need to self-report, the secondary fear is, okay, well, I didn't get permits, so now what happens with that? Do I have to go back and get permits? And then they start seeing dollar signs and trouble in their brain, and then they start freaking out.
I'm not going to speak for the permanent office, but I'll tell you that if I find it, or it's reported to us as the assessor, then I do have an obligation then to report that to the permanent office. They will then call the property owner and do what needs to be done.
are they pretty reasonable about helping? If the property owner is trying to do the right thing, it wasn't permitted in the first place, whether or not it was under their ownership or someone else's. Are they fairly easy to work with?
I think they're still gonna make you get a permit. They're still gonna make you go through the process, even if you back and didn't do it. They're gonna come and inspect it. And what I think I've been told is that they then, while they're at the property, have got to make a decision as an inspector. Is there something here that I'm concerned about with life safety? Because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Okay? It's protecting the use of property owner. Is that if some electrician did the wiring in that, and they weren't licensed and they didn't do it right, and it burns down, so it gets hurt. It's about life safety. So again, I would, if that comes up and the property owner says, I never got a permit for it, then I would encourage you to call the permit office, whether it's the city, the county, whoever it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say Bob Haynes came in, he did a really good lunch and learn for us on, retro permit or tear it out. And that's recorded, that's on our YouTube channel. If you want to go back and watch it.
We did say a confusing thing at that lunch and learn.
Yeah, I do remember that.
The confusing thing is he said they send, how did it go? They don't send or they do send permits.
Oh, like they talk between the offices?
He said no, right? No, he said.
He said it's not a guarantee. I
It's not a
think he
guarantee.
said, yeah.
He said only recently, otherwise it was like, you take garbage bags and permits over the tax office.
Well, we never got garbage back. I mean, we got buildings like
Okay.
garbage back. Okay. So let's go back in time and talk about that for a second. 10 years ago, permitting system was all paper. Okay. If you went to the permitting office and you took out a permit, they then were responsible to make a copy and send it to us. Well, you know what happens in that situation. Paper gets lost, someone forgets it, this is where we were at. Now it's all electronic. You go to the permitting office, you take out a permit, and it gets submitted, we get notification of it. Okay, electronically. We don't have to wait on them to do it. When they do it, we get notification. We now get notification of every inspection we've had. So if you're building a new house, we did the foundation inspection, the installation inspection, we did each one of these inspections, and we get notifications of that too. So it goes in your record on the assessment website also. System. So it's a lot different today than it was. But yes, I think part of maybe what Bob's saying is that he has no obligation to make sure I get that.
That's a better way to say it.
There's no obligation.
Yeah.
The county takes that upon ourselves to try and get the data to protect you, make it equitable, make sure we're not missing something. Because, I don't know, maybe you know and maybe you don't. So there's still people building houses with no permits. Okay? And I bet you when we do this flyover data and we look at, we edit that, we're going to find livable structures that nobody took a permit. Well,
Deep in the hollers, Marshall.
huh?
Deep in the hollers.
Well, they're deep in the holler. The other things that they may be piggybacking electricity off the neighbor or a neighbor property.
Yeah.
Or they may have had an old home there with a service pole, and now they're piggybacking that into their house. Because it's all, they can't get electricity in their those.
Straight pipes into the broad.
Straight piping in the Broad River, there's a lot of things going on still, I can tell you. But again, if you run across that, if you want to talk about it, there's people in the office that'll talk to you about it. We'll help you through it. I would encourage you to get ahead of it. Call me and tell me if you want to, and we'll work it out with you. And then you can go back to the property owners and do what, okay? But we're not trying to make it hard on you. We're not trying to make it difficult. Hold back. Also say that we really work to try and help you. Try and collaborate with you to make sure that you don't put yourself in a bad situation that we can help you with. Okay.
I have several questions. I love the idea of looking at this through like an equity lens. I think that's awesome. I really never considered that. You mentioned that a lot of the value of some of the properties in our area are based on their ability to make income. And short-term rentals are obviously that, right? Like they are producing, in some cases, a lot of income and are worth more as a result. And we're not capturing that because we don't know about it. So we're maybe it could be said that we're burdening our typical primary residents like homes more than we should because of the increased value of neighbors' properties that are generating income. Is there a way to square that?
Couple comments I have for you. So, if you as a listed agent identify that house as a short-term rental, we're looking for that.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're trying to identify that in our system. Now, when the house sells for an exorbitant amount of money, and we look at it and say, where'd that come from? And it has a big successful short-term rental. And someone paid for that short-term rental data or income, then we disqualify, as I say.
Okay.
We do not then compare it to other houses that are not short-term.
Okay, cool.
But the key there is us knowing. We don't always know it, okay? Again, something that we tried to do over time was to buy this data, to flag it in our system so we know. But then, as you know, there was a court case in Wilmington that stopped some of that, okay, which says you cannot put together a list of these. Now, there is an obligation of tax on them because it is, we do consider the furnishings to be business property. So it should be listed as business property. So we gathered some information from that. So it's another one of those difficult situations that those sales transactions do need to be pulled out and put in a bucket by themselves. But if I don't know it, I don't want to do it. Okay, they're just remaining out there.
The other cities and counties in the country are reporting exactly this, that they have no enforcement of any rules or tax or anything like that.
Right.
They say we have all these rules in place, but we're not tracking it at all, and we know we gotta track it.
Again, it's a self-reporting system.
Yeah.
If you got a short-term rental, you should be listing your assets. And that's what I think Matt mentioned, or somebody mentioned earlier, about we sent all those listing notices. Every property owner that we identified as a rental, short-term or long,
And they had to
and they telling them, this is your responsibility, you need to listen.
So at what point are we not talking about potential tax penalties or start to talk about tax fraud?
Well, I mean, that's a difficult one in property tax. There's nothing in property tax statute that talks about tax fraud. Okay, it's more of your failure to listen. That's how they put it. You failed to tell them, and this is your penalty for doing this. We're not going to send you to jail.
Yeah.
But we're going to ask you to pay it. Okay, and we have enforcement remedies to get you to pay it. Because once we give you the bill, it becomes a lien on the property, and somebody eventually is going to pay it. Okay, so there is remedies to make it happen. The other one I want to point out is that you mentioned, we do not consider these commercial properties. Okay? I'm of the belief is that you're a property owner, you got a right as a property owner to rent that property. And that right never said only for long term or short term, right? It says you have a right to rent. Okay, so that's what I operate. Because in the beginning of this ordeal, a couple of years ago, people said to me, Keith, you need to list the short term rentals differently. They should have a different valuation on it. But my opinion, from where I come from, is that right to rent never said anything, don't say anything about the difference in this rent. So does that mean if I assess you different on a short-term rental, that I shouldn't assess David different on a long-term rental? No, it doesn't. I should be doing both then. If I'm going to do one, I got to do the other.
The Buncombe County Planning Board just had a meeting where they all decided that they see it differently.
Well, we don't get into that. I'm talking about assessment.
No, I know.
And I was just gonna say, I remember this discussion about a year ago, and I was at that meeting where the commissioners were saying, can we not do this?
Yeah.
and you and the county attorney were like, no, the legal precedent says we cannot treat residential short-term rentals as commercial for taxation purposes.
I think you're creating an inequity by doing it. Because I'm treating the property, certain property owner different than the other. Think about it. I got a house right beside you. Okay? You're renting short-term rental. I'm not. Guess what? I do still have the ability to do a short-term. So should my house be assessed on the fact that you're doing short-term rental? Because I have the ability to do it, but I'm not. See, there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of.
Oh, I know there's so much nuance.
There's so much nuances to it. It's not as simple as saying yes and no.
No, I know that.
Well, you guys don't want to get in trouble. I mean, again, it would require a state law change for really,
Yes.
you guys to be able to go and do that.
Right. Yeah, and I, a lot of it, and I'm sorry, we're,
Sorry.
Well, when you're talking about a sale too, just because the property had been used as X purpose, doesn't mean that the buyer is also using it for X purpose.
Exactly, another nuance.
I've sold many properties that were short-term rentals that were just used as second home and primary once I sold them.
So what are you gonna do when I set your house and I say, listen, it's worth $500,000 as long as you live in it?
Yeah.
But if you're gonna rent it short, you have the ability to rent it as a short-term rental, so you just increase the value to 700.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna assess you at 700,
You turn it into a business.
because now you've turned it into something different.
Right.
But I don't have to do that to everybody, because everybody has the same right to do that. You follow me?
And then what do you do if you STR it only for 2 months out of the year?
I mean, it's just, but Matt's right. There needs to be statute around this.
Yeah. It's a new thing that we haven't figured out yet.
Sure.
And it goes all the way back, Matt knows more about this than I do. It goes all the way back to just bundle rights. You got a piece of something when you purchased that house.
Yeah.
You have the right to do this, unless it's taken away from you by governmental authority or police power. You have the ability to do that.
That means people with more money and more property have more rights than people without.
I am not touching that.
Okay, let me switch. A house like on State Street in West Asheville experiences really super high traffic, right? And is probably less value on State Street than like right off of State Street. What, is that taken into account when you do evaluations, or is it kind of the same area?
If it is relevant information, yes.
Okay.
But I will kind of challenge you to show me that that's true.
Yeah.
Just because of the market. People are saying, I don't really care about that traffic. I just want to live here.
Yeah.
Okay? I just want a house in West Asheville on State Street.
Yeah, that's not how proof it.
Matt's getting ready to kick me out.
I will wind it up. Could you review, revenue neutral rate again?
Sure. So as assessed value goes up, tax rate's still where it was after the prior year. Okay, so 51 billion, if the county's at 48 cents and a 51 billion value, it produces, let's say, 400 million in revenue, right? You've got assessed value times rate equals tax. So if 50 billion goes to 100 billion, and this rate still remains at 48 cents, that 400 million revenue goes to 800. The county don't need that for the budget. Okay, so what they need to tell you is revenue neutral. What, based on a $100 million value, what is the rate to get the same revenue that we got before the reappraisal?
Okay. So your 48 cents could go to 42 cents.
It go to 20 cents, I mean, whatever it is, yeah, right. But follows by law, they have to report that, whatever revenue.
And so as our population grows, our budget may or may not grow, which then changes that neutral.
Yes. Now, let me point out to you is that they need to report revenue. There is no obligation for them to go to revenue.
That's what
Right, and we can decide whether it matches, we can see what's reported, see what they actually did, and go, well, they made their
Well,
taxes
that's
before,
right.
or they didn't.
Exactly. You got it. All right.
No, you're fine. Thank you so much again, Keith, for always coming in. Thanks everyone for coming.